Welcome, everyone, to the Lansing Catholic Podcast. My name is Father Joe. I'm the chaplain here.
I'm Mr. Stolp. I'm the Dean of Intellectual Formation.
So I have to begin by saying we actually recorded this podcast, or attempted to.
We're calling this the Deja Vu Podcast.
But there was an issue with the SD card, and for
Father
some
screwed
reason it did not record. So here we are doing it all again. And if any of the jokes feel like they're rehearsed, that's because they kind of are, 'cause we already.
They were canned yesterday, but today they're doubly canned.
To be completely transparent, too, that podcast we recorded is probably the best podcast in the history of podcasts.
And this one is just a tribute to that one that no one...
In a Tenacious D type way. We can't replicate it, so this is not the greatest podcast of all time.
This
is just a tribute.
Very good. I was in a garage band in high school, and we played.
What did you
song.
play? What instrument did you play?
I played the piano and backup singing.
A lot of garage bands have
piano in the garage.
But
the garage was a barn. He's a homeschool, so that's what.
But we played that song in one of our sets in the parking lot of my home parish and got away with it somehow.
How did you get the piano to the parking lot?
It was actually a keyboard. It was not a piano, so it was portable.
Did you have
the real question is, can you play the guitar?
I cannot. Maybe I should have had your daughter win those 9,000 tickets to get that Casio keyboard. She could.
It wasn't a full size one though, so
not good enough.
You should take Miss Teetsort's intro to piano class.
Maybe
they could play.
So we have a special guest on our podcast today. Welcome, Mr. Jeremy Dowsett.
Thank you for having me.
We'll interview you in a little bit. He's going to tell us
about
about
to stay quiet in the meantime.
Yeah.
This is the second trip he's made here, and I think he drives an hour and a half each way.
This time he biked here. He was just
an hour and a half. That's like a 5-hour bike trip.
No, it wasn't that far, but he did bike, even with his fancy socks on. So let's give a little update about things going on this week. So today, Monday the 16th, we've got our diocesan all-school mass at the cathedral. So that's where all the schools who want to can show up and go to mass together with the bishop. So we've got a contingent of students who will be going there.
Are you concelebrating, Father?
I will be concelebrating. After mass, we take the students to Jimmy John's, and they are so excited about Jimmy John's. Do you want me to get you a sandwich?
I do. Anytime you're at a sandwich place, it should not even be a question.
Okay. Well, no promises, but maybe I
What? How could you offer and then say no?
I just want to keep you wondering until.
This is definitely a worse podcast.
And then we also have a religious sister from Uganda coming to visit on Tuesday. So she has connections to a parishioner at St. Mike's Grand Ledge who's done missionary work there for several years. And he reached out to me last year saying, we've got the sister coming to Michigan. Do you want her to come visit? So
she'll be going to the junior level classes?
Correct. She's going to be in the junior theology classes, just talking about life in Uganda and religious life. And
will she be participating in the Aristotelian discussions that they have?
I don't know.
Okay.
I guess we'll have to wait and see. They have handmade rosaries. I already got one. They're nice. It's the school color, just by coincidence.
Cougar blue?
Cougar blue, yeah.
So,
cool.
Father, if I can interject here for a second.
Yes.
I noticed you just pronounced that word rosaries with a zh.
Yes.
There are like two kinds of Catholics I've discovered. You either say rosary, like the flower rose.
This is new material, by the way. We don't know what's
going. Rosary, and I have not figured out like what makes you a rosary versus a rosary Catholic. I'm rosary.
I'm rosary.
Rosary.
Yeah.
I never thought of this.
I don't know if it's regional.
Now I'm going to always be self-conscious whenever I say the word.
Jeremy,
rosary.
Where are you from originally?
I'm from right here, born and bred.
So it's not a Michigander thing, because I'm not from
Maybe
this
I just
area.
mumble.
No, there's definitely a.
I'm the mumbler of the group.
Yeah. I mean, I've noticed it around here, at least, is pretty much 50-50 split down the middle.
It's kind of like the people who pronounce that state to our southwest, Illinois, or Illinois.
Illinois.
And then you put that
Illinois.
white. Yes. Illinois.
Or New Orleans.
I feel like it's an Illinois thing where it's Illinois and it's milk. Drives me insane.
You say Illinois?
No, I don't.
Oh.
I'm an American.
Okay. So what do you say?
Illinois.
Illinois. That's what I say.
It's people I've heard milk in Illinois.
Yeah, I don't say
I'm
milk.
an American. He says.
It's milk.
How do you say what?
How do you say the thing that kids have in their back when they're going to school?
Backpack?
A book bag?
Backpack.
Anyways,
book bag.
Anyways,
What is the
moving-
Wait. What are you getting at
So
here?
there are
We're
some
gonna
people
have
that
some
say book bag.
Book
bag.
bag.
And that
Bagel.
We're gonna go have some bagels. after
Bagels
this.
and bagels.
We would go on and on about this when I was in college in Minnesota because there were all sorts of things they would say.
The thing that you change the channels with the TV.
Remote?
Remote channel changer.
What?
the
No one calls it. That's too many syllables.
Minnesota in me. That game where the kids sit in a circle and it's duck,
How long
duck.
is this podcast usually?
It's supposed to be 15 minutes.
Duck,
but we're already on
duck,
our way
duck,
to
gray duck
going over.
is what the Minnesotans say.
Okay, moving on. We also have on Wednesday the 18th our first adoration night. We're doing these once a month. These are for any high school age students in the area, so they do not have to be students here. You could bring your friends.
But it has to be kids, though, right? So
Yes.
parents are not allowed to.
It is just
adore.
for students. It begins at 6 p.m. We'll serve them pizza. We'll have
Afterwards or
adoration.
before?
I think we start with pizza. And then we have adoration with confession and music, and then we'll have some fellowship afterwards with games and that sort of thing. So it's from
delightful.
6 to 8 right here at Lansing Catholic. The first one is on Wednesday, September 18th. And you can find the full schedule on lansingcatholic.org/adore.
That was an amazing plug there, Father.
Well, it took some
Should we
work to
put
get
the link
that.
in the comment section, too?
I should, if I remember to do that. What else? Is that it, or do you have something else you got to talk about?
I have nothing else, Father.
Nothing.
I used it all up yesterday when we recorded.
So the only other thing is St. Gerard staff will be in the building on Thursday the 12th. They're doing confirmation interviews for the freshmen here that are from their parish.
But not on the podcast.
No. You made that joke last time.
Well,
Is this one supposed to laugh politely?
No, I don't know.
Okay, so let's go to our interview. As I said, we've got a special guest, Mr. Jeremy Dowsett. Thanks for coming again and biking here this time.
No problem.
So you are a school parent, at least you used to be. So tell us your connection here to Lansing Catholic.
My mom graduated from here. I think she might have been in the first class that went through this building, all 4 years in this building, or when it was, became Gabriel's at that point, I think.
Yep.
I did not. I graduated from Lansing Eastern, but I do have a son that just graduated from here who's a sophomore now in high school, and my wife and I had the pleasure of going on the Alabama mission trip with Father Joe here, so it was a great time.
And you are now working at IHM Parish, correct?
I now work at IHM Parish and school. I have duties on kind of both sides.
But your biggest thing you do, you are a PhD student, PhD almost complete in, and you're
ABD is what it's called.
ABD. I didn't know if we were ABD or not.
All but
so-
dissertation.
all
yeah.
but- So, but your focus is Catholic social teaching.
Correct.
So explain what that is. The Catholic Church needs this doctrine on social teaching and what you do with it.
Typically, if Catholics have any sense of what Catholic social teaching is at all, they tend to think of it as something like a Catholic voter's guide. The church has like stances or positions on various hot button political issues, which it does have some stances on some controversial political issues, obviously. But the church's social teaching is a much more comprehensive and profound thing than just sort of telling you what to vote on particular issues. It is kind of the fullness of the church's teaching on the laity's vocation, which is to be salt, light, and leaven in the world, in society, in all the different societies that we belong to. The church has teaching about what it looks like to participate in all those societies at every scale, right? From the scale of the family all the way up to the country, the nation, and the international community, and what it looks like for those to be just societies. It's really, I think, in our first run through, our practice, our dry rehearsal.
It was a practice podcast.
Practice podcast. Father Joe said, it's election season, so this is especially one of my great hopes is that people will realize Catholic social teaching isn't something that we get off the shelf once every 4 years and then put back on the shelf, but it really is meant to guide our whole vocation, especially as lay people.
Well, you mentioned the relationship there between voting issues, and Catholic social teaching.
Yeah.
And to some degree, and many degrees, and probably the only degree, Catholic social teaching came first. And then it's like the other voting issues became voting issues, and that's where Catholic social teaching doesn't necessarily guide that, but it informs the Catholics and the citizens of what is just and moral.
That's exactly a point that I've made whenever I've preached on political issues, is that the church has been around for far longer than any
Democracy.
Yeah. So all of these ways of looking at things and understanding relationship and society, these have been around for a very long time in the understanding of the church. And if it happens to fall on one side or the other of any political aisle, that's not because the church is picking a side. It's because we were here first,
Right.
and now this particular party or that one happens to be in line with this or not. But it's not that church is being political. It's that we are holding fast to things that we've held to for centuries.
Yeah, I mean, so there's the historical aspect of like this is just the church's teaching, and it predates modern democracy. It predates voting. And then there's also the global aspect of Catholic social teaching, which is, the social teaching is part of the magisterium. So it's papal teaching, and it's for the entire church across the globe. And so it's not just teaching to inform Americans how to vote, right? Like the church's social teaching is for Chinese Catholics and, Polynesian Catholics and all. And so it's not, it's much bigger than our sort of political paradigm.
And one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on the podcast, this podcast is mostly for parents, and there's something that you're doing here in the next several months. It could be a
Podcast
very,
for everybody, Father.
but you're offering some teachings coming up that anyone could take advantage of. So maybe tell us a little bit about that and what's coming up here in Lansing.
Yeah, so in partnership with the diocese, this is a diocese-sponsored program, Immaculate Heart of Mary and our deanery are off a lecture series. So it's a 10-lecture series to introduce people to Catholic social teaching, and it's spread out over the course of the academic year. So there are 5 lectures during the fall semester and 5 lectures during the winter semester. Those are lectures that are open to anyone and everyone, we hope, regardless of whether you have exposure to Catholic social teaching or not, or if you're just brand new and those 3 words together as a phrase mean nothing to you, that you would come out and learn more about what the church has to say about social and societal issues. And then there's kind of a second part to the program that we're offering, which we're calling the Scholars Track, which is going to be a small group that meets after the talks for another hour or so. And those are folks who are willing and want to do some actual reading in the sources of Catholic social teaching, which is largely papal encyclicals, papal documents. So folks who are willing to do a little reading, kind of want to dive deeper and get into a meatier discussion. We've made 12 spots available for a small group of folks to do that. And this all starts next Tuesday, but there are still a couple spots left in that Scholars Track. So if there's someone out there who hears
What's the date for the Tuesday?
Next Tuesday is the 17th.
Okay.
The 17th is the first one, and then they're essentially every other Tuesday evening after that, with the exception that one of them fell on election night, so we bumped that to the next week.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah.
So this is at St. Cas?
This is at, the St. Casimir campus, the Lansing Catholic High School Activities Center, or whatever it's going to be.
I think we said last time it was the Lansing Catholic Center for Social Teaching.
Okay. Yeah, that's great.
There's
actually going to be a photo of me on the wall.
Oh.
That's going to be christened. Or I think we should.
But
just
you'll be there too,
let's
right?
Just go with a 3-dimensional statue, a bronzed bust.
So I like that.
The Jeremy Dowsett Center for Catholic Social Teaching.
Is it going to be in the gym over there?
It's in the gym.
Okay.
Which is on the Barnes Avenue side of the campus.
Okay. And if people wanted to look this up online, is it on the parish website?
Yeah, so it would be on our events portion of the Immaculate Heart of Mary website. There's actually, I think there should be something up, like kind of on our calendar for every single one of the lectures. And then there would be a QR code and a link for anyone who wants to register for the Scholars Track, the small group that they could find there.
If I were to attend, should I bring anything? Pen, paper?
That's a good question. I mean, I do think it would be helpful. You might want to take notes. Yeah, I think the lectures might be meaty enough that people would want to take notes, but they wouldn't have to.
Nice.
They didn't want to. Yeah.
I like to know what to bring before I come to things.
Bring a pen, paper, and some sacrilegious socks.
I got those.
God, I gotta work on that. I'm out of the club here.
You're out of a lot of clubs, Father.
So you mentioned the first attempt of recording this. You made a comment that struck me, and it's that learning this treasure trove of the church's wisdom and experience on social teaching can really be a helpful way in bringing unity in our political discourse. There's a lot of difficulty in that realm. Now there's so much division and animosity.
Yep.
Maybe talk about that a little bit and how this could possibly help with that.
So, I mean, in a sense, like polarization is kind of written into the programming of our political philosophy and our political system in the United States. And so I think we're kind of just seeing the fruit of that playing out now as have an increasingly secular culture, right? We've been running on the fumes of kind of our Christian culture for a long time. We're sputtering now, right?
Yes.
And so the polarization that's kind of just inherent in the system of how politics has been designed in the United States is now coming out. And because of what you said earlier, Father, that the church's teaching on societies and how they should be organized and what it looks like for them to be just predates and transcends all of that, right? It's founded not in any political philosophy or ideology. It's founded in the truth of the human person and who we are and how that has been revealed to us in Christ. And so because it's founded on truth, it's founded on natural law, it's founded on reason, it transcends that polarization. You know, I mentioned this sort of policy platform approach to Catholic social teaching. When you take that approach, you see that the church will fall on different sides, quote unquote, on different issues. And so that in and of itself has kind of causes us to have to reflect on, okay, the church does not align itself with a political party 100%. We need to sort of step back and do some deeper thinking about, you know, what's good, what's just, what's true, what's beautiful. How do we want our society organized? What should and shouldn't be legal, etc. And when we do that from a standpoint seeking the common good versus being on a team that we want to win, it can ratchet the temperature down in those conversations.
So when I used to teach this to my seniors back in the day when I taught. And one quote that I read somewhere or made up, I don't remember, is that the Catholic Church is the most unchanging institution in the history of the world. That's because the doctrine is the same. Mm-hmm. And it follows this linear progression. So Republicans, conservatives, Democrats, liberals, they all change their statuses or their positions based on if they want to be elected or not. Yeah. But the Catholic Church, their stance is always good. Their stance is always truth with a capital T. Their stance is always the natural law, and it's what makes it probably easier to some degree to teach the teachings of the Catholic Church than it would be to teach the teachings of the Republicans or to teach the teachings of the Democrats.
Right. Well said.
Well, thanks so much for coming back on the show.
Yeah.
We appreciate your work, and I look forward to hearing all those talks you're giving. I had one class in seminary on Catholic social teaching, and it'd be good to get a little refresher on all that.
Yeah, I mean, I have been surprised at many of the priests I've encountered who have very little training in their seminary preparation with Catholic social teaching. It's an unused treasure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for listening. Be sure to tune in next week for all the latest at Lansing Catholic. I'm Father Joe.
And I'm Mr. Stolp, and I look forward to recording the same podcast tomorrow.
See you later, everybody.